name orangutan, also written orangutan, 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 and orangutan, is derived from the Malay words orang, meaning person, and hutan, meaning forest. The locals originally used the name to refer to actual forest-dwelling human beings, but the word underwent a semantic extension to include apes of the Pongo genus at an early stage in the history of Malay. The word orangutan appears, in its older form orangutan, in a variety of pre-modern sources in the Old Javanese language. The earliest of these is the Kakawin Ramayana, a 9th century or early 10th century Javanese adaptation of the Sanskrit Ramayana. In these Old Javanese sources, the word orangutan refers only to apes and not to forest-dwelling human beings. The word was not originally Javanese, but was borrowed from an early Malayic language at least 1,000 years ago. Hence the ultimate origin of the term orangutan as denoting the Pongo ape was most likely Old Malay. The first printed attestation of the word for the apes is in Dutch physician Jacobus Bontius 1631 Historiae Naturalis et Medici Indii Orientalis. He reported that Malays had informed him the ape could talk, but preferred not to lest he be compelled to labor. The word appeared in several German language descriptions of Indonesian zoology in the 17th century. It has been argued that the word comes specifically from the Banjarasa variety of Malay, but the age of the Old Javanese sources mentioned above make Old Malay a more likely origin for the term. The word was first attested in English in 1691 in the form orangutan, and variants ending with ng are found in many languages. This spelling and pronunciation has remained in use in English up to the present, but has come to be regarded as incorrect. The loss of h in utan and the shift from ng to n has been taken to suggest the term entered English through Portuguese. In Malay, the term was first attested in 1840, not as an indigenous name but referring to how the English called the animal. The word orangutan in Malay and Indonesian today was borrowed from English or Dutch in the 20th century, explaining why the initial h of hutan is also missing. The name of the genus, Pongo, comes from a 16th century account by Andrew Battelle, an English sailor held prisoner by the Portuguese in Angola, which describes two anthropoid monsters named Pongo and Engico. He is now believed to have been describing gorillas, but in the 18th century, the terms orangutan and Pongo were used for all great apes. French naturalist Bernard Germain de Lacépède used the term Pongo for the genus in 1799. 24 to 25 Battelle's Pongo, in turn, is from the Congo word Gunji or other cognates from the region, Lumbu Pungu, Bilim Bungu, or Yambai Yimpungu. Orangutans are great apes native to Indonesia and Malaysia. They are found in the rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra, but during the Pleistocene they ranged throughout Southeast Asia and South China. Classified in the genus Pongo, orangutans were originally considered to be one species. From 1996, they were divided into two species, the Bornean orangutan, and the Sumatran orangutan. In 2017, a third species, the Tapanuli orangutan, was identified. The orangutans are the only surviving species of the subfamily Ponginae, who split from humans, chimpanzees, and gorillas 19.3 to 15.7 million years ago. The name orangutan, also written orangutan, orangutan, orangutang, and orangutan, is derived from the Malay words orang, meaning person, and hutan, meaning forest. The locals originally used the name to refer to actual forest-dwelling human beings, but the word underwent a semantic extension to include apes of the Pongo genus. At an early stage in the history of Malay, the word orangutan appears, in its older form orangutan, in a variety of pre-modern. The most arboreal of the great apes, orangutans spend most of their time in trees. They have proportionally long arms and short legs, and their hair is reddish-brown. Adult males may develop distinctive cheek pads or flanges and make long calls that attract females and intimidate rivals. Younger males do not and resemble adult females. Orangutans are the most solitary of the great apes, social bonds occurring primarily between mothers and their dependent offspring, who remain together for the first 2 years. Fruit is the most important component of an orangutan's diet, but they will also eat vegetation, bark, honey, insects, and bird eggs. They can live over 30 years both in the wild and in captivity. Orangutans are among the most intelligent primates. They use a variety of sophisticated tools and construct elaborate sleeping nests each night from branches and foliage. The apes' learning abilities have been studied extensively. There may be distinctive cultures within populations. Orangutans have been featured in literature and art since at least the 18th century, particularly in works which comment on human society. All three orangutan species are considered critically endangered. Human activities have caused severe declines in populations and ranges. Threats to wild orangutan populations include poaching, habitat destruction because of palm oil cultivation, and the illegal pet trade. Several conservation and rehabilitation organizations are dedicated to the survival of orangutans in the wild. The orangutan was first described scientifically in 1758 in the Systema Naturae of Carl Linnaeus as Homo Sylvestris. It was renamed Simia pygmaeus in 1760 by his student Christian Emmanuel Hopp, and given the name Pongo by Lacépède in 1799.24-25. The populations on the two islands were suggested to be separate species when P. abelii was described by French naturalist René Lesson in 1827. In 2001, P. abelii was confirmed as a full species based on molecular evidence published in 1996. 53 and 3 distinct populations on Borneo were elevated to subspecies: flanged male Bornean, Sumatran, and Tapanuli orangutans. The Sumatran orangutan genome was sequenced in January 2011. Following humans and chimpanzees, the Sumatran orangutan became the third species of great ape to have its genome sequenced. Subsequently, the Bornean species had its genome sequenced. Genetic diversity was found to be lower in Bornean orangutans, P. pygmaeus, than in Sumatran ones, P. abelii, despite the fact that Borneo is home to 6 or 7 times as many orangutans as Sumatra. The researchers hope these data may help conservationists save the endangered ape, and also prove useful in further understanding of human genetic diseases. Similarly to gorillas and chimpanzees, orangutans have 48 diploid chromosomes, in contrast to humans, which have 46. Within apes, superfamily Hominoidea, the gibbons diverged during the early Miocene between 24.1 and 19.7 million years ago, according to molecular evidence, and the orangutans split from the African great ape lineage between 19.3 and 15.7 million years ago. Israfil and colleagues 2011 estimated based on mitochondrial, Y-linked, and X-linked loci that the Sumatran and Bornean species diverged 4.9 to 2.9 million years ago. By contrast, the 2011 genome study suggested that these two species diverged around 400,000 years ago, more recently than was previously thought. Also, the orangutan genome was found to have evolved much more slowly than chimpanzee and human DNA. A 2017 genome study found that the Bornean and Tapanuli orangutans diverged from Sumatran orangutans about 3.4 Maya, and from each other around 2.4 million years ago. Orangutans traveled from Sumatra to Borneo as the islands were connected by land bridges as parts of Sundaland during recent glacial periods when sea levels were much lower. The present range of Tapanuli orangutans is thought to be close to where ancestral orangutans first entered what is now Indonesia from mainland Asia. The 3 orangutan species are the only extant members of the subfamily Pongini. This subfamily also included the extinct Generalopithecus, which lived in southern China and Thailand 8 to 2 million years ago. 50 Indopithecus, which lived in India from 9.2 to 8.6 million years ago, and Sibapithecus, which lived in India and Pakistan from 12.5 million years ago until 8.5 million years ago. These apes likely lived in drier and cooler environments than orangutans do today. Chiropithecus piriaei, which lived in Thailand 5 to 7 million years ago, is believed to be the closest known relative of the orangutans. 50 The largest known primate, Gigantopithecus, was also a member of Pongoni and lived in China, from 2 Maya to 300,000 years ago. The oldest known record of Pongo is from the early Pleistocene of Chongzuo, consisting of teeth ascribed to extinct species P. weidenreiche. Pongo is found as part of the faunal complex in the Pleistocene cave assemblage in Vietnam, alongside Gigantopithecus, though it is known only from teeth. Some fossils described under the name P. huigeri have been found in Vietnam, and multiple fossil subspecies have been described from several parts of southeastern Asia. It is unclear if these belong to P. pygmaeus or P. abelii or, in fact, represent distinct species. During the Pleistocene, Pongo had a far more extensive range than at present, extending throughout Sundaland and mainland Southeast Asia and South China. Teeth of orangutans are known from peninsular Malaysia that date to 60,000 years ago. The range of orangutans had contracted significantly by the end of the Pleistocene, most likely because of the reduction of forest habitat during the last glacial maximum. Though they may have survived into the Holocene in Cambodia and Vietnam. Orangutans display significant sexual dimorphism. Females typically stand 115 centimeters or 3 feet 9 inches tall and weigh around 37 kilograms or 82 libras. While flanged adult males stand 137 centimeters or 4 feet 6 inches tall and weigh 75 kilograms or 165 libras. Compared to humans, they have proportionally long arms. A male orangutan having an arm span of about 2 meters or 6.6 feet, and short legs. Most of their bodies are covered in coarse hair that is generally red but ranges from bright orange to maroon or dark chocolate, while the skin is gray-black. Though largely hairless, males' faces can develop some hair, giving them a beard. Orangutans have small ears and noses. The ears are unlobed. The mean endocranial volume is 397 cubic centimeters. The brain case is elevated relative to the facial area, which is concave and prognathous. Compared to chimpanzees and gorillas, the brow ridge of an orangutan is underdeveloped. Females and juveniles have rounded skulls and narrow faces, while males develop a large sagittal crest and large cheek pads or flanges, which show their dominance to other males. The cheek pads are made mostly of fatty tissue and are supported by the musculature of the face. Mature males also develop large throat pouches and long canines. Orangutan hands have 4 long fingers but a dramatically shorter opposable thumb for a strong grip on branches as they travel high in the trees. The resting configuration of the fingers is curved, creating a suspensory hook grip. With the thumb out of the way, the fingers and hands can grip securely around objects with a small diameter by resting the tops of the fingers against the inside of the palm, thus creating a double lock grip. Their feet have 4 long toes and an opposable big toe, enabling orangutans to grasp things securely both with their hands and with their feet. Since their hip joints have the same flexibility as their shoulder and arm joints, orangutans have less restriction in the movements of their legs than humans have. Orangutans move through the trees by both vertical climbing and suspension. Compared to other great apes, they infrequently descend to the ground where they are more cumbersome. Unlike gorillas and chimpanzees, orangutans are not true knuckle walkers, a form of terrestrial locomotion which involves the use of a more relaxed open hand with the middle segments of the fingers sweeping the ground and the feet flat. Orangutans tuck in their digits and shuffle on the sides of their hands and feet. Compared to their relatives in Borneo, Sumatran orangutans are thinner with paler and longer hair and a longer face. Tapanuli orangutans resemble Sumatran orangutans more than Bornean orangutans in body build and fur color. They have frizzier hair, smaller heads, and flatter and wider faces than the other species. Orangutans are mainly arboreal and inhabit tropical rainforest, particularly lowland dipterocarp and old secondary forest. Population densities are highest in habitats near rivers, such as freshwater and peat swamp forest, while drier forests away from the floodplains are less inhabited. Population density also decreases at higher elevations. 82 orangutans occasionally enter grasslands, cultivated fields, gardens, young secondary forest, and shallow lakes. Most of the day is spent feeding, resting, and traveling. They start the day feeding for 2 to 3 hours in the morning. They rest during midday, then travel in the late afternoon. When evening arrives, they prepare their nests for the night. Potential predators of orangutans include tigers, clouded leopards, and wild dogs. 80. The absence of tigers on Borneo has been suggested as a reason Bornean orangutans are found on the ground more often than their Sumatran relatives. The most frequent orangutan parasites are nematodes of the genus Strongyloides and the ciliate Balantidium coli. Among Strongyloides, the species S. fuliborni and S. stercoralis are commonly reported in young individuals. Orangutans also use the plant species Dracaena cantii as an anti-inflammatory balm. Diet and feeding: orangutan on a branch eating some leaves. Although orangutans may consume leaves, shoots, and bird eggs, fruit is the most important part of their diet. Orangutans are primarily frugivores, fruit eaters, and 57 to 80% of their feeding time is spent foraging for fruits. Even during times of scarcity, fruit can still take up 16% of feeding. Orangutans prefer fruits with soft pulp, arils, or seed walls surrounding their seeds, as well as trees with large crops. Figs fit both preferences and are thus highly favored. But they also consume drupes and berries. 47 to 48 orangutans are thought to be the sole fruit disperser for some plant species, including the vine species Strychnus ignati, which contains the toxic alkaloid strychnine. Orangutans also supplement their diet with leaves, which take up 25% of their foraging time on average. Leaf eating increases when fruit gets scarcer, but even during times of fruit abundance, orangutan will eat leaves 11 to 20% of the time. The leaf and stem material of Orosodendron bornensis appears to be an important food source during low fruit abundance. Other food items consumed by the apes include bark, honey, bird eggs, insects, and small vertebrates including the slow loris. In some areas, orangutans may practice geophagy, which involves consuming soil and other earth substances. The apes may eat tubes of soil created by termites along tree trunks, as well as descend to the ground to uproot soil to eat. Orangutans are also known to visit mineral licks at the clay or sandstone-like walls of cliffs or earth depressions. Soils appear to contain a high concentration of kaolin, which counteracts toxic tannins and phenolic acids found in the orangutan's diet. Orangutans are the least social of the great apes. The social structure of the orangutan can be best described as solitary but social. They live a more solitary lifestyle than the other great apes. Bornean orangutans are generally more solitary than Sumatran orangutans. Most social bonds occur between adult females and their dependent and weaned offspring. Resident females live with their offspring in defined home ranges that overlap with those of other adult females, which may be their immediate relatives. One to several resident female home ranges are encompassed within the home range of a resident male, who is their main mating partner. Interactions between adult females range from friendly to avoidance to antagonistic. The home ranges of resident males can overlap greatly, though encounters are relatively rare and hostile. Adult males are dominant over subadult males, the latter of which keep their distance. Orangutans disperse and establish their home ranges by age 11. Females tend to settle close to their mothers, while males disperse much farther but may include their natal birth range within their new home range. They enter a transient phase, which lasts until a male can challenge and displace a dominant, resident male from his home range. Both resident and transient orangutans aggregate on large fruiting trees to feed. The fruits tend to be abundant, so competition is low and individuals may engage in social interactions. Orangutans will also form traveling groups with members moving between different food sources. They are often consortships between an adult male and a female. Social grooming is uncommon among orangutans. Orangutans communicate with various sounds. Males will make long calls, both to attract females and to advertise themselves to other males. These are divided into 3 parts. They begin with grumbles, climax with pulses, and end with bubbles. Both sexes will try to intimidate conspecifics with a series of low guttural noises known collectively as the rolling call. When annoyed, an orangutan will suck in air through pursed lips, making a kissing sound known as the kiss squeak. Mothers produce throat scrapes to keep in contact with their offspring. Infants make soft hoots when distressed. Orangutans are also known to produce smacks or blow raspberries when making a nest. Males become sexually mature at around age 15. They may exhibit arrested development by not developing the distinctive cheek pads, pronounced throat pouches, long fur, or long calls until a resident dominant male is absent. The transformation from unflanged to flanged can occur quickly. Flanged males attract females in Ostrauss with their characteristic long calls, which may also suppress development in younger males. Unflanged males wander widely in search of Ostrauss females and upon finding one, will force copulation on her, the occurrence of which is unusually high among mammals. Females prefer to mate with the fitter flanged males and seek their company for protection. Non-ovulating females do not usually resist copulation with unflanged males, as the chance of conception is low. Resident males may form consortships that last for days, weeks, or months after copulation. Homosexual behavior has been recorded in the context of both affiliative and aggressive interactions. Unlike females of other great ape species, orangutans do not exhibit sexual swellings to signal fertility. The average age in which a female first gives birth is 15 years and they have a 6 to 9 year interbirth interval. The longest among the great apes. Gestation lasts around 9 months and infants weigh 1.5 to 2 kilograms or 3.3 to 4.4 libras at birth. Usually only a single infant is born, twins are a rare occurrence. Unlike many other primates, male orangutans do not seem to practice infanticide. This may be because they cannot ensure they will sire a female's next offspring. Because she does not immediately begin ovulating again after her infant dies. There is evidence that females with offspring under 6 years old generally avoid adult males. Females do most of the caring of the young, while males play no role. A female often has an older offspring with her to help socialize the infant. Orangutans completely depend on their mothers for the first 2 years of their lives. The mother will carry the infant while traveling, and feed it and sleep with it in the same night nest. For the first 4 months, the infant is carried on its belly and almost never without physical contact. In the following months, the time an infant spends with its mother decreases. When an orangutan reaches the age of 1.5 years, its climbing skills improve and it will travel through the canopy holding hands with other orangutans, a behavior known as buddy travel. After 2 years of age, juvenile orangutans will begin to move away from their mothers temporarily. They reach adolescence at 6 or 7 years of age and will socialize with their peers while still having contact with their mothers. Females may nurse their offspring for up to 8 years. Typically, orangutans live over 30 years both in the wild and in captivity. Orangutan lying on its back in a nest, orangutans build nests specialized for either day or night use. These are carefully constructed. Young orangutans learn from observing their mother's nest-building behavior. In fact, nest-building ability is a leading cause for young orangutans to regularly leave their mother. From 6 months of age onwards, orangutans practice nest-building and gain proficiency by the time they are 3 years old. Construction of a night nest is done by following a sequence of steps. Initially, a suitable tree is located. Orangutans are selective about sites, though many tree species are used. The nest is then built by pulling together branches under them and joining them at a point. After the foundation has been built, the orangutan bends smaller, leafy branches onto the foundation. This serves the purpose of and is termed the mattress. After this, orangutans stand and braid the tips of branches into the mattress. Doing this increases the stability of the nest and is the final act of nest building. Orangutans may add features, such as pillows, blankets, roofs and bunk beds to their nests. Orangutans are among the most intelligent non-human primates. Experiments suggest they can track the displacement of objects both visible and hidden. Zoo Atlanta has a touchscreen computer on which their two Sumatran orangutans play games. Study of 2 orangutans at the Leipzig Zoo showed orangutans can use calculated reciprocity, which involves weighing the costs and benefits of gift exchanges and keeping track of these over time. Orangutans are the first non-human species documented to do so. Study: 2 captive adult orangutans were tested with the cooperative pulling paradigm. Without any training, the orangutans succeeded in pulling off an object to get food in the first session. Over the course of 30 sessions, the apes succeeded more quickly, having learned to coordinate. An adult orangutan has been documented to pass the mirror test, indicating self-awareness. Mirror tests with a 2-year-old orangutan failed to reveal self-recognition. Studies in the wild indicate that flanged male orangutans plan their movements in advance and signal them to other individuals. Experiments have also suggested that orangutans can communicate about things that are not present. Mother orangutans remain silent in the presence of a perceived threat, but when it passes, the mother produces an alarm call to their offspring to teach them about the danger. Orangutans and other great apes show laughter-like vocalizations in response to physical contact such as wrestling, play chasing or tickling. This suggests that laughter derived from a common origin among primate species and therefore evolved before the origin of humans. Orangutans have also been found to have voluntary control over vocal fold oscillation, which is essential for speech in humans, and can learn and mimic new sounds. Bonnie, an orangutan at the U.S. National Zoo, was recorded spontaneously whistling after hearing a caretaker. She appears to whistle without expecting a food reward.